There are some pretty exclusive professions in the world. Hard-earned places at the top of the tree. Only a few hundred golfers get to go on the US Tour. Just 22 drivers start each Grand Prix. But this year, there are just 5 seats available from which a driver can win the World Rally Championship. And to succeed, he needs the best car he can get. This season, Subaru have introduced their brand new World Rally car. And they started the year pretty well, winning the first 3 rounds of the championship. It was the culmination of a year's intensive effort at Prodrive in Banbury. February '96, and managing director David Richards meets his technical director David Lapworth and design consultant Peter Stevens to decide the targets for the new car.
Anyway, we've got to make a style statement here. We've got to make that car look really just a new dimension.
We can rework the turbo, we can rework some of the engine internals, so we'll gain a significant, not huge, but significant amount of power.
What we're going to have to do is obviously have a fairly concentrated wind tunnel test program with it, you know, some visit to the wind tunnel. But
I want people to look at that car when it's stationary and think it's going 1,000,000 miles an hour. We've got to...
It's not easy to imagine that dynamic effect when working on a clay model, but Peter Stevens designed the McLaren F1, the world's fastest production car, so he's likely to turn out something special. The new regulations allow the Subaru to have a wider track, but the bulging wings have to be in steel and fully styled into the car, not just bolted on. That's helped by choosing the 2-door version of the Impreza. By early March, Peter Stevens' designs have received final approval. Inside the new skin, David Lapworth's team were able to modify the body and the roll cage, seeking the greatest possible rigidity as a way to optimise handling.
You can't be precise with springs and dampers if they're attached to a flexible body shell. And that's that you'll see in all areas of motorsport, whether it's Formula 1, touring car racing, or more even in rallying now. So we're trying to make the body shell stiffer without adding weight to it, and that's where the CAD system comes into its own.
The computer analysis showed that adding 2 simple struts near the rear axle increased stiffness by 18%, and all without needing to build several full-scale prototypes. Maximum engine power is limited by a restrictor in the air inlet, but the new rules allowed the manifolds to be redesigned and the turbos placed in a more convenient position. Optimising the design through the summer gave an impressive 8% increase in torque. Off with the standard panels, on with the new curvaceous ones, as the car moved to the final assembly in October, just 3 months before the Monte Carlo Rally. In fact, it was only 3 weeks before the international launch in Spain, just before the last round of the '96 season. In the hills behind Barcelona, the world's rallying press were ushered into the new era for rallying, as seen by David Richards.
Rally cars have historically been based very much on production units. These cars, sure, they've got the roots in production cars, but we've got the lovely exciting colours, the excitement of the wings, the performance, everything about them is extending the sport to a new dimension.
5 days later, the team got their first chance to drive the new car in anger. Colin McCrae had just won the Rally Catalunya in the old car and was impressed with its replacement.
Obviously the car straight out of the box and straight away it was quicker than the old car. Just generally everywhere it's a bit better, so it's looking very promising.
By the time the team returned to Catalunya last month for this year's event, that promise had been fulfilled with 3 straight victories. This was the shakedown day to confirm the results of earlier testing in Corsica.
We have 1 new tyre we're going to try today, which is just the latest development we've found from the last test, so we'll try that today and that's all really.
You won here last time, so it should be easy.
Yeah, if you say so.
The shakedown went well, but the Subarus ended up being beaten for the 2nd time running by Mitsubishi, and they were using their old Group A car. So why wasn't the World Rally car obviously better?
I guess you'd have to say the Group A Mitsubishi is very much the benchmark that the regulations were based on. The main advantage is that it's made the homologation process much simpler, much easier. It means that any manufacturer really who's serious about the World Championship now could come into the championship without having to get locked into a very complicated, long-term process to make a special road car.
It's hoped that the much cheaper homologation requirements will soon tempt 2 or 3 more manufacturers into the small group competing at the top level, and that will make Colin McRae's profession slightly less exclusive. How did he react to the pressure of occupying one of those 5 championship seats?
It's very, very difficult to get to this level of the sport, and probably even more difficult to stay there. There's an awful lot of young guys biting at our heels, so you know, there's quite a lot of pressure to perform and stay there.
It was time for me to observe the skills that had gained Colin this privileged position. Don't worry, he's just warming up the tyres. Just a 3-mile country drive with Colin McRae. Very pleasant. There's people standing everywhere. Oh my God. It's nice going uphill. I feel almost confident. Oh no, I don't. It actually feels incredibly smooth. We're going over the roughest roads of Spain, and yet the suspension seems to take it. Watching Colin, he hardly moves the steering wheel on these tarmac roads. Slotting through the gears, the grip is amazing. Little nudge of the handbrake there just to get the back out for the tighter corners. Over the top and down the other side, now on smooth new tarmac, and it was getting a little more hectic. And again, a nudge of opposite lock, all done in this wonderful, calm, relaxed, flared look. Oh no, a quick S. Okay. A simply brilliant ride, and while Colin disappeared off to his luxury hotel to go jet skiing, I had the chance to have a go alongside his new co-driver Nicky Grist. My first run was to be a gentle one, to take a look at the road and get a feel for the car, with poor Nicky having to just sit there and suffer. So, let loose in Colin McRae's 300 horsepower World Rally car. This tarmac has got a lot of gravel on it, which will probably catch someone like me out. But there's a nice little bit of a straight here where I can get up to 4th gear before back on the brakes. 3rd, 2nd, straight through that gearbox. And straight away this World Rally car, it just invites confidence, even in the inexperience like me. The steering weight just feels right, and of course it's such a well-tuned thoroughbred. I guess you'd expect it to be that way. Gravel. Nicky here beside me calls gravel, and oh, you can hear it under the car. That's a big advantage for the works teams, as they're allowed forerunners to go through the stages and warn their crews of those dangerous spots. I'm in 5th gear, but I'm not too sure I want to be. Oh, there's a bit of a straight here. And you don't get many straights in rallying. The amazing difference with car racing, where you get about 4 corners every mile. Here you seem to get about 40, and yet these top guys finish these stages with just 1, 2, with 10 seconds at the most between them. And that I find absolutely staggering. I'm actually using the clutch, but I don't need to. I'll try a bit of left foot braking. There you are, no clutch. 6th gear, braking, down to 5th, down to 4th, off the brakes, up to 5th. The left foot now just easing some weight, as I wasn't sure what was round there. A bit more gravel here. Oh, this is such a pleasure. Now I've got a feel for the car, how about Colin's pace notes?
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. 30, long 3 right.
Long 3 right, that I should be in 3rd gear, but I'm in 2nd, but never mind, I understand the speed.
70 left, tightens to very long 3 left.
Very long 3 left. 3rd gear long.
Into long 2 right, flat slippy, gravel.
Right into gravel here. This is the, I'll go down to 1st.
And left and right and long 3 left, opens.
Long 3 left, opens. Opens means it's
Now
nice
go.
on the exit.
That's it, 76 left. And
With the
right.
system understood, it's time for some serious motoring, with me concentrating on driving instead of talking.
3 left, minus opens. 32 right.
So how did Nicky think I was shaping up?
I think it's probably lack of confidence in the car and the tyres. I mean, you could see that on a lot of the faster corners you were perhaps braking or sort of going down the gearbox, where really, I mean, you just keep it in there. I mean, you'd soon have your difference between yourself and Colin in probably half an hour.
And that last run was just 10 seconds off Colin's best time. A very satisfying day in a brilliant car.